We're just gonna roll with it. Hello. Hey everyone, thanks for jumping in with us. Welcome to the Live Fearlessly vlog. Marshaun, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me something good in your world. What's good?
Well, first of all, Rebecca, thank you so much for having me. Something that's good in my world is I am teaching my 3-year-old toddler how to read, and she is grasping the reading concept really well. So that is going great in my world right
That's
now.
amazing. That is amazing. Wow, that's so cool. So are you doing like homeschooling, or is it just something that you're specifically with reading you're working on?
Yes, specifically with reading that I'm working on, it was just a goal of mine to have her reading by the time she's 4, and she'll be 4 in less than 2 months. And so I actually can say that I attained the goal already. So right now we're working on just having her read better, right? And
Yeah,
continuously learning the phonetics of each letter, word recognition and everything. So she's doing awesome. Yeah, she's doing awesome.
that is amazing. That is amazing. So fun. And I have to say that I love your earrings. They're beautiful.
Thank you. I love them too. Like, these are my flyaway. This is my hair, since I love my hair short. So this is my hair. But I love them too. So thank
This
you.
is my hair. Yeah. No, I love it. Oh, that's so great. So before we dive into your story and more about how that's shaped the leader that you are today, where are you located?
I am located in sunny San Diego, California.
Ooh, and it's sunny today, which is a huge thing, right? Like
It's
that's
sunny
amazing.
today, but it's also hot. Sunny, but
Okay.
it's also hot. So it's been in the 100s and 90 or like high 90s. So it's been hot these past couple of days for sure.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to dive in and talk more about you and your story. And I'm going to just start by saying that Marshaun is a life and relationship strategist. And we actually got connected from a mutual friend. So power of connection. And she was like, you guys need to meet. You have a lot of amazing qualities that mesh really well. And there might be a collaboration there. And right away, we hit it off. So I'm super, super excited for you guys to get to know her and her story more, and for me to dive in deeper as well. So let's just do it. So Marshaun, when you hear the question, when was a significant time in your life that fear held you back from living your life fully? Where do you go when you hear that?
I hear that with my first divorce. Because so I was one of the people that had the fantasy, or at least I just didn't know that it was a fantasy at the time, where I wanted to have a marriage, but I didn't understand what it meant or even took to be in a marriage. I didn't understand how to choose a great partner, the things that you should actually look for, the things that you should question, the things that you should just not take. And so I just knew that I wanted to be in the marriage, right? So
Mm.
that was my extent of marriage.
I
Even
think
though
that I think that that's a huge thing for so many people, right? Like
Mhm,
the
mhm.
fantasy of like the wedding, even like just the
Yes,
simple
yes,
act of like saying that you're married and
yes,
having the party is what I
yes.
found, that so many people just kind of have that fantasy of the wedding.
Yep. Yes, 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 yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. I just had to
So
point that out, that like that is a big thing. So let us know in the comments too, for all the viewers. Like, is this something that you're like, yep, been there, got the t-shirt for that. I felt that at one point as well. Like, let Marshaun know if you're feeling what she's saying right now. That's great. Okay,
right.
could
So okay, thank you. So I just didn't understand or have any idea what I was doing in my first marriage. Even though I actually grew up around relationships, I never had any of the sit down talks or anything like that. And so by the time I made it to the marriage, it was a matter of, he makes me feel good, right? Even though I seen red flags, I did not know that's what they were.
yeah.
I also did not know that I should have been asking questions, more in-depth questions about that in particular. And so we were together for 8 years total, married 6. And by the end of that 6-year marriage portion, it was just like, okay, something has to give. Now, honestly, I have to say, in hindsight, it could have worked out if I was more mature, if he was more mature, if we had more tools, more information, because it wasn't bad per se. It didn't work out, obviously, but it wasn't bad per se. Like, there was no real abuse, or just, you know, some of the stories that you hear from most people was not actually my story. It was just, we could not get the communication portion down. And so we know the communication is the key to it all, right? So we couldn't get the communication of it down, and because of that, it went downhill real fast. And on the other side of that was the divorce. And then I was staying longer because I was just like, well, what are other people gonna say? You know, how's this gonna make me feel? I'm actually gonna be a part of the statistic. I'm gonna have to live alone. You know, I was in a city that it was just him and I, like I didn't have any family around me. So am I going to go back to live in my small hometown, or am I going to try to figure out what life is for me and what, you know, what I'm supposed to be doing? So it was just a lot of stuff that I had to deal with. And I ended up divorcing because I was forced to. So there was a time in our relationship towards the end where things were just really bad. Things were just really bad. I didn't know how to communicate and talk to him, speak with him, respect, and it was the same for him with me. And so the very day that I ended up leaving, it was because he decided to choke me. So he decided to choke me, and I was just like, okay, I have to do what I need to do, which is survive for myself.
Yeah. Wow. So, you know, and you said how many years? How many years were you married?
So I was married 6 years and we were together 8.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and
6 years.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned in the beginning too, like there were red flags that we don't know that that's what they are, right? Like the awareness. We don't know what we don't know until
That's
we
right.
really know it. So so I think that's really important to point out too, is like making sure that you guys all caught that, right? We don't know these things are really red flags until it comes full circle, right? Until, I mean, 6 years in, then it took an action like that to really be like, yeah, communication is definitely not there. And now it's escalated to actual violence, physical violence, and terrifying physical violence. Like, oh my gosh. So like, okay, so how would you label your fear? So if you were to say my fear was this, because we talked about being alone, we talked about what other people will think. Are you someone that is more of like the people pleaser mindset, or a fear of alone, or like, what would you say your fear was if you were to say it?
At that time, my fear was dealing with the loneliness and just being alone. And then in hindsight, I realized I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was. And so I came from a large family and I was always around people. And then I joined the United States Navy and I was always around people. And then I got married, right? So then we were always together and around each other. So I was never alone. And so dealing with the fact that, wait a minute, your life is about to change significantly and you're about to move out on your own. And again, I was in a city where no family was around. So it was like, it was going to be me. Who am I? I was his wife, you know, I was his wife. Like, who am I? I didn't have any, you know, titles or anything behind my name at the time. It was just like, who am I? Am I still my mother's daughter? Now I'm about to be a divorcee? Like, where was I in the world? Where was I in the world?
Yeah. So where were you mentally, like dive in a little bit deeper about like your mental state during that time?
I was just, let's see, my mental state. It definitely wasn't there. It was where I was just always low, lightweight, and I say lightweight depressed, just having to deal with the thoughts and even the pressure that I was putting on myself. Not even the pressure that anybody else was putting on me. It was the pressure that I was putting on myself. Yes, I did have some family pressures, but it was mainly the pressure that I was putting on myself. And so it was just like, what are others gonna, like I mentioned before, what are others gonna think, right? And so I think I was more just afraid, how I'm going to be viewed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing too. And like figuring out like I like that we're talking about like figuring out who we are, because that's what it all boils down to. It all starts with us, and
Yes.
right, like us knowing how we communicate and all of the things, like it helps everyone else around us know how to communicate with us, and
Yes.
help others be heard and all of that. So I love how that's coming full circle too. When when you were breaking free from the fear, and like obviously now we're to the point where we know you have to make a change. You have to get out of marriage, you have to move, you have to make a decision and take action on it. So when you were going in that direction, was your family supportive? Was your friends supportive? Did you have a lot of relationships that broke off when that marriage broke off? Like talk a little bit more about like the humans in your life during that. Was it supportive? Was it not?
So for me, I didn't even share any of what I was like the build up and going through, because I wasn't at a final decision. Was I gonna stay or was I gonna go? And so because I wasn't at a final decision, I didn't want to bring everybody into the relationship,
Right.
and even their opinions, or you should have been gone, or just all of the negative stuff that we usually say about the spouse, because we're trying to protect the person. In this case, that person was me with my friends and
Mhm.
family. And so I didn't want to do that because I wasn't at a final decision. My literal final decision was the night that I got choked. I left that night and did not return. So that was the final decision for me. And
Yeah.
so because that was the final decision for me, it's funny that you even bring that up, because in my mind, I was preparing to be gone, because I started to take them off bank accounts. I started to like just look around at different houses and play. So mentally, I was already starting to exit anyway, but I was still 100%. I was not 100% there. And so because
Yeah.
I was not 100% there, I didn't want to involve anybody at that point. And then when I left that night is when specifically my parents, because that's what I call specifically my parents, and they were like, you're done. And I'm like, yeah, we've gotten to a point where it's done. Me, I don't condone abuse. If I didn't know anything, I knew that abuse was not a part of my story. So I know that it was domestic violence, but I still don't see myself as a domestic violence survivor, because one time for me, I'm gone. Like I'm not a repeat person to deal with that. So it was just like that was enough for me to say my life is worth it, and I just kind of seen my future is going to be worse and worse and worse, and I didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah. That's a really big awareness too, is to like to know, like you probably already had that, and you already knew that part with like that if that were to ever happen, if he were to ever put his hands on you, you knew you would walk away and be like, no, final, like that would be it.
Yes.
But the other question I had too is like, have you ever thought that maybe he knew that you, like, did he know that you were taking him off of the accounts and like making moves to kind of distance yourself from him? Did he know those things, or
He
maybe?
did not. He did not. I think,
Oh,
and really, I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. I guess
okay.
subconsciously, I was just getting myself out of the way. I didn't even realize what I was doing until I looked back, and I was like, oh, I was already
Okay.
starting to leave. I was starting to leave that relationship, that marriage anyway. So no, at the time he didn't. He had no idea that's what I was doing.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, oh, did he know that that was happening? Like, that's why maybe it escalated, but no, it was the point, to the point that happened, and you were already mentally preparing and physically preparing
Yes.
yourself to actually exit from there. So you never went back.
Never. That night, never. Oh, I'm sorry. I did to get my belongings, but I did to get my belongings. But I actually,
Right.
because I knew his work schedule, I strategically went when he was never there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Okay. So love that.
I know it's a
Love
lot. I
that.
know.
I love that you were like no, and the decision was made. That's amazing. Um, and obviously that is what really compelled you to be like, this is it. That was the last straw,
Mm-hmm.
and moving forward. So I mean, what advice would you give the viewers about fear in general, right? Even if it's not related to domestic abuse,
Mhm.
or a relationship specifically, like what is something that maybe you've done and a tool that really helped support you in moving through when that fear was there and when you were going through the transition of the uncertainty of which area you wanted to
Mhm.
move to, what that was going to look like, right? Like we have viewers that obviously can relate in different ways to your story. So what is some advice around, stepping through their fear that you could give them, or tools?
So, two things. The first thing is to say, whenever you're facing something that you know you really should do, but fear is holding you back, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know. Basically, the unknown is going to pop up.
Yeah.
That is when you need to walk into that thing. That is when you need to do that very thing. And then the second thing, you need to look back on all of the other things that scared you half to death that you did and persevered through. So you want to look for the past evidence is basically what I'm saying. Look for your past evidence that you have seen and done to say, I did that thing. I was scared out of my mind, but I made it through. And then look at your current situation and take that in as well to say, you know what? This sucks, but I got to deal with it. I cannot remain where I'm at today. Whether you're in your love relationship, even on your career, right? Your friendships. It's funny that we are even having this conversation because I'm reading a book currently called Necessary Endings. Necessary Endings. And that book is basically telling you how to end the career if you need to, end the friendships if you need to, end the romantic relationships if you need to, and to realize that everything is a season in our life. And when it's time for things to end, do not hold on to them just because of fear specifically, right? Don't hold on, because fear is always going to come up, but you have to be your own soldier for yourself to, you know what? I have to do this. I have to do this for me. If for no one else, you have to do it for yourself. Or if you're not in that state of mind to say, I need to do it for myself. If you have children, do it for your children. But find something to attach yourself to say, I need to do this. I need to get unstuck because this is unhealthy. I'm sick, and let's go with the career. I'm sick and tired of going to this job every single day. I complain every single day. I complain about the job. I complain about the people. I complain about the management. It is time for you to do something different, sis. It's time for you to do something different. So figure out what that different thing that is that you want to pursue, and then start working toward that thing so you can get out of there. And I'm giving you the information that I am currently doing right now. I'm at a plateau in my career. I can't move forward unless I go back to school. Well, I don't want to go back to school anymore. So now I am making an intentional pivot to shift out of there and work on my coaching business full time. But I don't complain when I go to work. I'm not even one of those people that are, oh my God, it's Monday. No, because now I am on. When I leave work, when I leave my 9 to 5, I come home and have my family time with my husband and my daughter. And then I work on my business so I can strategically move away from my 9 to 5, because I don't want to do that any longer. So I no longer complain about Mondays. I don't complain about them people. Well, sometimes.
Let's be real. It's still there, but it's under control.
Yeah, it is. It's totally under control because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel for sure. So
yeah,
I'm
we have to have that
sharing
vision
things.
of what you want to know where you're going. We can't
Absolutely.
just get in the car and not know where you're going. You're not going to go anywhere, right? We need our GPS, and our GPS is our vision of what we want for our life. So turn it on. You have to turn it on and really be aware of it to see where to move, where to take an action.
Absolutely.
I love it. I took some notes, and I'm going to share my takeaways with everyone. So my takeaway is that we need to take action towards fear, right? Fear is our best friend. It really is there to serve us. And we need to see it that way, because even when the fear is scary and when the fear is exciting, those are doing the same things, but realize that it's all about taking action. It is quite literally, fear tests us to say, do you really want this thing that you're saying that you want? If you do, then you will take the action. If you don't, you will stay stagnant and you will stay in the place of without the growth. And the growth, taking the action and powering through, knowing you will persevere, as Marshaun was just telling us, right? Like, look at your past evidence of how strong you are, how resilient you are, how smart you are and capable of making decisions that serve your purpose and what's best for you and your family. And like, understand that you will persevere again from that by seeing the evidence of the past. Like, I love that you were talking about looking back. I kind of, so I do a mastermind and a workshop around this exact concept of how I describe us as the Tasmanian devil. It was my favorite Looney Tunes character.
Okay.
Tasmanian devil, right? So you're in a tornado as the Tasmanian devil. We can't see where we're going. You can't see through the dust cloud. So we need to part the way, right, to see the direction and like move in that way. So I love that. And it's really about like under the awareness of what isn't serving us. As example is the career that you're in right now, not serving you anymore, not a joy space for you anymore. Now you've made the conscious decision to know, all right, I can only change this myself. The people around me are still might be sucky. If they leave, someone else that hates their job might come in. We can only control what we can control, and that is our mindset and the actions that we take and how we react along the way, right? So those are my takeaways and what I was writing just in hearing your story alone. And I would love for everyone that's watching to like share, what are your guys' takeaways so far? Because these stories of the amazing things that we've all like been growing through. We don't want to just inspire you. We want to inspire you into action. So really thinking about how this story is like hitting home to you, what the piece that makes sense to you, and then decide on an action and move in that direction. Don't just listen to this and be like, wow, she's amazing. She's this and that. Yes, those are true things. And so are you.
Yes,
so I'm just like, this is so great. I'm on my soapbox right now, Marshaun.
I love it. Stay on there. Stay on there.
So I love that. Okay, so those are my takeaways. That was so good. So my next thing that I really like to like think about is the fact that, so I'm really like a vision driven person, right? I'm talking about knowing what our vision is so that we can make intentional moves and grow intentionally. I think that's so important. And I always love asking the question, like, where do you see yourself 5 years from today? And it's really interesting, like, in light of the unprecedented times that we're in right now, even more so, people are like, how am I supposed to answer this question? And so I love like hearing what your thoughts are. So where do you see yourself 5 years from today? 2025, what's in store for Marshaun?
In 2025, in 5 years, yes. 2025, I will have purchased 2 homes. I will have a preteen. Wow. Yeah.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy to think about the ages? Like, what does that look like in 5 years?
In 5 years, I'll be 48. Yes, so I had her late in life, if you do the math. Yes. In 5 years, me and my husband will be in year 7 marriage. In 5 years, I will have amassed a really large company in 5 years, and really large is in the millions. And I'm going to actually say 2.5 million. Let's throw out a number.
All right.
So
yeah. Let's put some energy behind that. That's awesome.
And what else would I have done? You know what? I will have, my parents are already retired, but I will have taken their bills from them. Yeah.
I love that.
I will have taken their bills from them.
Giving back to your parents.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love it. That's so cool. So where is the best place for the viewers to connect with you?
The best place is on my Instagram, which is Marshaun_O. And the other place would be Facebook. So Marshaun Olaniyan.
Okay, awesome. Well, Marshaun, this has been fantastic getting to hear your story and sharing your knowledge around, building that awareness and really understanding where your path can take you and like what is possible. Is there anything that you would like to leave with the viewers before we go?
I would like to leave that quote and saying, which is, fear the fear, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm all about the action and the fear and doing it. Like, that's awesome. I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone that's watching, remember to love yourself, live fearlessly, and make it a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.